So I'm not sure if any of you or all three of you or none of you were at the earlier lab section. You can go ahead and put into chat if you were, or if you have an idea of what you'd like to do in this one. Okay. So have you got, if you were at it, Sophie, I haven't heard back from you, but maybe you've stepped out for a moment. So if you have an idea of what you'd like to do, or if you just are planning on using this time to work on the lab material, just let me know what your thoughts are. Or if you want to work with each other, that's another option, either on the lab or the lecture. Okay, so we have one request. So why don't we start with that, and then if something occurs to people, you're welcome to put something else in chat. So let me go find the respiratory slides. Okay, here we go. It's actually getting warmer at my house. It's been so cold. Let's see, lab test 2 materials, histology for lab test 2, respiratory. So I guess we'll just go through the slides one by one, and I could talk about what's in them, and then is that the idea of what you're looking for? Stephanie, working on lab for now. We'll just be in there in case. Okay. And I see that Noah arrived, so if you guys want to work together. Otherwise, no, Stephanie asked that I walk through the respiratory slides. So let me share screen, and I hope that this is going to allow me to walk through these slides without. Okay. Do you guys see this? Let me just give me a thumbs up because the chat is not. Okay, great, if you're seeing it. I'll put chat, but I have to kind of make chat disappear. Okay, so on this slide, it's labeled alveoli because I think that's what I was focused on in the center here. I did make this enlarged. So you can kind of see their alveoli sacs. I hope you're seeing my little pointer here. Connected through an alveolar duct. Yeah? Was that?
I don't see the picture. It's just showing the files, but not the picture.
Oh, that's what I was afraid of. Okay, let me stop share. I'm going to have to go in and out of share a lot then. Now when I go to share, I don't know why sometimes I can and sometimes I can't just motor around in something. Okay, here we go. Yeah, now it's got it in a different window. All right, so what I did is I enlarged this. You know, you can enlarge it quite a bit. Maybe I'll use this thingy too. So what I was pointing out is you can see here, oops, and this is why I don't use this thing. You can see here sacs like this, you know, there's sacs. And then there's a duct that's connecting all these sacs. This is all respiratory zone areas. So once again, many sacs coming off of common duct in here. And then these are blood vessels. That's blood inside them. So I wouldn't ask much of anything about those guys. Let me go back, get rid of this, to the mouse. And this is off to the edge here. It is a bronchiole probably, or bronchi, depending on whether you see much cartilage. It looks like there's a bit of cartilage around the outside there, so probably what we'd call a bronchi. But it's so far off to the edge, I would be unlikely to use this slide to talk about that, because I'm not focusing on it. I'm looking at the alveoli. Okay, so that's that slide. Now I'm going to have to go in and out of share and open the next slide. So that was pretty low power. This is the same thing. Let me share this one at higher power. But here, I could really focus on, again, the duct with the alveoli. You can see, if I were to ask what subtype of tissue, it'd probably be something with higher magnification like that. So you can see there's squamous cells. And there's really flat. It's hard to exactly envision them here because, of course, there's capillaries and a little bit of basement membrane on the back side of it. But that's all that is shown here is an alveolus and alveoli duct. I actually think this might be the terminal bronchiole, and because you can see a little bit of cuboidal cells there, but I wouldn't expect you to label those. Okay, again, alveoli duct, that would be the main things you're seeing on this one. Let me close that one and stop sharing that one. Okay, I'm going to go out of, well, let's go in order here. Why not? Because then you could follow along with your slides. I guess at first I was going to go by topic, but now that's okay. So this one, I think, whoops, I got to move everybody over if I'm going to hit share. Okay. So this one, I put in a reference into the study guide, which I don't have in my files of slides because it was on a PowerPoint. And it is kind of enlarged a bit. So this is the epiglottis here. Sorry for the dirt on the slide when I took a picture. But this is the epiglottis. So that's elastic cartilage. And then I know it's a little bit hard to tell, but the lining of the epiglottis when you're this high up is all simple squamous. If it was focused a little better, you could see there's many layers of nuclei. You can see that better here. There's many layers of nuclei. So this is as the epiglottis is kind of curved back and you have the whole throat here. Now they've cut, when they cut it out, they cut all this. You can kind of tell that's all jagged. These are skeletal muscles. This is fatty pads that are, along the palate inside the mouth. So this up here, you don't see much of it, is the glottis. So I did make a composite of these two. They're in the study guide, and I think there are things labeled that should help you. Stop me if you have questions. Let's go to the next one. And, these are just in the order they got loaded, and I can't rearrange the order. It would be nice. Sometimes I'll put them in folders, but other than that, I don't have a lot of control on how that shows up. So what I'm trying to focus in on here are bronchi and bronchiole, well, mostly bronchi, but a bronchiole as well. And there's a bit of artifact. So here's a piece of hyaline cartilage. It's curved to surround this thing. You get little islands of cartilage over here too, some more cartilage. And so this is a bronchi in our definition of bronchi. What's artifact is this is pulled away. This gap here is not real. Over here is more normal. And these are pseudo-stratified ciliated. You can kind of tell even we can zoom in, but that these are tall cells. They're kind of vertical looking. So that would be the surface epithelia. What it's pulled away from here is the lamina propria. So I probably wouldn't be able to point at lamina propria with this. It's just not able to tell it apart from the fibrous connective tissue of the submucosa here. But I would realize that there is muscle. I know it'd be hard to point at, but this is probably some muscle over here, maybe. But I'd have a hard time pointing at it. But I would be able to point at this being in that muscularis mucosa layer. Since it's not continuous ring of cartilage, you're going to have muscle mixed up. So my guess is some of these things that look like circles, I don't know if I can, probably can't navigate if I move. Oh, I can. So this is probably muscle here. They're probably just cutting cross section. And that's connective tissue. Looks like not much of anything in there. There's some muscle here. So there is smooth muscle and there is cartilage, and it's all in that muscularis externi. And then you get outside of that and you're back into fibrous connective tissue. I suppose this would still be adventitia because it looks like fibrous connective tissue to me. Areolar connective tissue would make serosa, but probably in these internal structures, you're not going to have that. So what about this thing? Over here, maybe I'll go back up in power, but this has got blood in it. You can see there's something in it. Maybe I'll see if I can motor over there. That is an artery. So that's blood. And if I could make it, it's kind of dark over there in the picture too. It's kind of going, it looks like bubbles because the surface is going up and down, up and down. It's highly folded. But the giveaway is there's blood in all the blood vessels in this organism. So here's another probably vein because it's not going up and down and up and down and up and down here. And you can kind of tell there's flat cells along this. So that's simple squamous. Clearly, if you got a chance to see the real thing, you would have more, you'd be able to focus the way you want. And then, anyway, I'm not the world's best photographer. Again, a bronchiole, there's nothing in the middle. These are tall cells, simple. These are the pseudostratified. You can see muscle. This is muscle more in the longitudinal section on the outside here. And I can go higher, but I don't really see any hyaline cartilage, which is so distinctive. So this one we're going to be calling bronchiole, just to make it easier. You don't see hyaline cartilage around the perimeter. You do see muscle. There's all muscle there, muscle there. So bronchiole, are we good on that one? Let's go back down. And I suppose there's alveoli, but I have the other pictures to show you that one, those things. Okay, let me go to the next one. This is another bronchi. I just tried, I think this is an older picture from my files. Share screen. I have to move it over again. Okay. So it's a little bit murky. Probably the lens wasn't cleaned enough, but hyaline cartilage, hyaline cartilage, hyaline cartilage. That's probably hyaline cartilage too, but it's a little bit blurry. Pseudostratified, ciliated. I could go higher, and you probably could too. Lots of, there's muscle here too. It's a little hard. We could try and go higher to see if any of it becomes a little more clearly muscle. Things that, like this, is probably muscle because they're like wrapped in bundles. And they're probably cut in cross section. And then we probably have the lamina propria and the submucosa in here. I'm not sure that is hyaline cartilage. It might even be, well, it's a little hard to tell because it's out of focus. Every now and then you will see a lymphatic nodule along here. I don't think it is, but it doesn't. Maybe it's a blood vessel. And it doesn't look like cartilage higher. So again, bronchi, is what we'll call this because it has the hyaline cartilage that's in the muscularis externae layer. Submucosa would be between. There's going to be muscle in that layer too, but the stuff that's right under the surface mucosa would be the submucosa's fibrous connective tissue. Okay, so this is probably also taken from that same slide. Let me, share screen and share, pick this one and share. So I think I also may have gotten this from a earlier library of slides. I kind of liked it because there are some big blood vessels here, another big blood vessel here. See how they're filled with stuff in there? These are probably some smaller blood vessels, but it's not clear. But this shows pseudostratified coming down with little islands of cartilage on each side of it every now and then. It's probably a terminal bronchiole. There's going to be a lot of muscle if we went higher. You see those little circular things. There's sometimes long, elongated fibers. And then it shows it branching off into a terminal bronchiole. Let's see if it may not be good enough focus, but if we went up higher, yeah, it's not really good enough focus, and it's disrupted. You know, the whole pathway into this big duct is disrupted. It looks like it might still be pseudostratified, but if I had a better focus in that area, it might show it go down to shorter and shorter, but unfortunately the focus isn't very good. So bronchiole and bronchi, hyaline cartilage. Yeah. I wish we had the real slides and you could focus where you wanted to focus, but you know, we're doing the best we can here. I took a couple pictures of emphysema. Let me share one of those. So you've seen quite a few views of the alveoli and the alveoli ducts. And here you can see that the whole lung looks emptier. So that's because these alveoli weren't able to rebound back like an overstretched balloon. They weren't able to rebound back to, possibly they would be this small. Now they're all wide open because they don't have as much elasticity. But it still looks like simple squamous. It doesn't look like there's a lot of thickening to these walls. So these are probably still serving as a respiratory membrane. They're just not as easy for this person to exhale because they don't have that elasticity to cause them to come down. This is actually the edge of the lung. I wouldn't ask that, but just out of your knowledge, why it looks so different here. So this is where the visceral serosa is in this person. And I put a second one in of emphysema. Again, they're both the same power. It's just not at the edge now. It's in the middle. And I got to move you guys over in order to reach the share. So same idea, though. You get these enlarged alveoli sacs. Some of them so enlarged it's hard to see where they meet the duct anymore. Just the whole thing looks airier because there is more residual volume left behind. So the residual volume in this person has gone way up. So, with that one, I could ask stuff like that. I could say, okay, what's the pathology here? The only pathology you have in the lung is emphysema, so that's not a hard answer. And then I could say, tell me what happens to this person's tidal volume, this person's residual volume, that sort of thing. Okay, back to that larynx, although I think this I didn't include in that composite that's in your study guide. It's just deeper down. And I was wanting it in there because I believe, let me see if it does. Let me go higher. Move down. No, I think you can just see better that this is stratified squamous. So this is still the epiglottis. Let me go back. So the epiglottis is right here with the cartilage in the middle. And this is just a big fold in their oral cavity. So this is probably the thyroid cartilage. I wouldn't ask that, but that's probably what it is. It's labeled anterior larynx on the slide. And if you keep following this down, you can almost see that the thinning of the stratified squamous, eventually these become pseudo-stratified, but I didn't go far enough when I took this picture. Oops, screen sharing, yes, I know. Okay, I did close the window, so you can't share it. Okay, so here is another one at higher power of the larynx is pseudo-stratified. So here's a good one for some of the layers at least. So you can clearly see the pseudo-stratified in this one. You can see this sort of pinker layer underneath, which is probably areolar connective tissue because it changes and gets a little less pink stain to it and a little more fibrosy looking. So this is the larynx. So we're not dealing with a muscularis externi. It doesn't have any smooth muscle. It's only got cartilage when it gets deep enough. This is a big blood vessel here because those are red blood cells. And these are probably glands. But we didn't talk about, these are maybe even the beginning of tracheal glands. I don't know. But we didn't really talk about glands in the larynx, so I wouldn't ask you about it. I think this is largely focused on the pseudostratified, the lamina propria, and the submucosa for that. Okay, stop that one. Stop that one. Okay, so now we're actually on the other side. So see, I'm not sharing it yet, am I? You're not seeing anything. Okay, I gotta move you guys over to get the share. Okay, so here I think I'd focus on, this is stratified squamous, right? I'm hoping you can recognize that. And this is pseudo-stratified ciliated. So this is taken really way down deep in where this is the epiglottis. No, wait a minute. Is this anterior, posterior? It's a little hard to tell from inferior larynx and esophagus. So this is part of that esophagus right at the opening. So I think this is the cricoid cartilage. So we're on the posterior part, and it's pseudo-stratified. But I may have taken this a lot further deeper than the composite picture shows. So you're not going to see something analogous there. Okay, so mostly focused on not recognize, if I were to show this one, not so much recognize where you are in the larynx, but rather the tissue subtypes. So I might say, name 2 parts of the larynx which have this tissue subtype. And what tissue subtype is that? Or, why have this tissue subtype? This is clearly the glottis, and this is the esophagus. It's just deeper down where it must have been opened more than in that other picture. Okay, let me go to the next one. Get rid of this one as soon as I can. Okay, lung, artery, and alveoli. Again, we're looking at alveoli. Screen share. Drag you guys over. So this I think I put in, this is maybe from slides, pictures I've taken before, because it shows you squamous cells. And there is stuff in here. It's a little hard to tell that's blood, but this is a big vein. And I was putting it in there to help people distinguish a bronchi or bronchioli, which would have pseudostratified along here. So you don't mistakenly label a vein as a bronchioli. It also does show you the alveoli. These are not as stretched out. I mean, it looks like it got a little compressed when they cut the section. And has some little blood vessels through here. You can kind of see, but it does pretty good job at the sacs and the ducts, where all the sacs are coming together here. Normal tissue. This is normal tissue. So let's see what else. So you can see a lot of the slides are showing the same things. Okay, here's more of the posterior. This one is the one that I've made the composite of, that's in the study guide. This is the posterior larynx. And let me make it bigger. So here is the, this is actually the posterior side. So a little hard to tell, but there's some cartilage right here. And so this is part of that, probably the arytenoid cartilage at this point, but I wouldn't ask which cartilage. And you can see that it's stratified squamous all around here, stratified squamous. And this is actually the esophagus. The esophagus tends to collapse down when you're not actually swallowing, and that's why it's sort of meeting each other. Now, if we went even more inferior to this, that apparently it opened up again to see more. But how would I know that this is not the epiglottis? Well, first of all, the cartilage isn't as big in the middle, and the glottis is going to be the big opening, right? The glottis is on this side, so that must be the posterior side, because the glottis would be anterior to this. So also, you don't tend to see those fatty pockets as much. There's a lot. This is all skeletal muscle around the backside. Probably some of the muscles involved in speech. Okay, but I wouldn't ask that, just to help you orient yourself. But that is one of the ones I made the composite of, so you hopefully will have some. Okay, that's the same thing we saw before of a terminal bronchiole, so I'm not going to bother showing it again. All right, here we're showing a tracheal section. So I showed this one in class, but here's pseudostratified. We could even make it a bit bigger. Pseudostratified, even though they're out of focus, you can almost see the cilia or the mucus along the surface here. And right under it, you see a gap almost looking thing, which is the lamina propria. And then this sort of fibrous area in here with lots and lots of blood vessels. These are all blood vessels. They aren't glands. I know you have to draw tracheal glands, but you're going to have to use the picture that I put into the study guide, because I think when I loaded these up, I didn't have that picture available, and I haven't run around to try and find it, but it was in my old study guide, so I just put it in the new one. It's on a PowerPoint, so I had to put it in the study guide. So this is the hyaline cartilage. That is replacing muscle in the muscularis externae. And then this is a lot of adipose that's helping cushion these structures of part of the adventitia around the outside. So I think this is a good one to show all the layers. It doesn't show all the tracheal structures that you're interested in, so you can't just make one drawing of this, because it's not showing you the tracheal glands and it's not showing you the trachealis muscle. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Another trachea. Okay, so let's share that one. I gotta drag you guys over again. All right, so this one is showing you one of the other structures you're going to need for the tracheal drawings. So it really is going to take more than one drawing to have everything labeled that you need. So here's the tracheal cartilage in that muscularis mucosal layer. And coming off of it, you can see attached in each end of it is the trachealis muscle right there. So this is the muscle that when it contracts, it narrows, not a whole lot, but it narrows your trachea a bit, and that allows you to sneeze or cough and have the air expel at a higher rate of speed. Clearly using your accessory muscles to increase the speed as well. And it's lined by pseudostratified along pretty much, who knows what's happening here, but pretty much along the whole way. And so you see the submucosa, and this is again probably fat in the adventitia layer, but here you can almost see some fibrous connective tissue too. Okay, stop sharing that. And this is a low power. Oops, didn't want to open it. Yeah, it's another one of the trachea, just showing the tracheal cartilage. I mean, I can share it, but it doesn't show you glands. I think this is, you'll have to go into the slides or pictures that I posted in the study guide to get those. And this is showing you the hyaline cartilage, quite thick area, blood vessel, blood vessels, pseudostratified, all of that submucosa. Hard to say lamina propria, but maybe if I make it up really big, you kind of see a difference right here, where there's probably lamina propria, and then all that's submucosa. Okay, looks like a lot of adipose in this submucosa, probably to cushion the blood vessels. Stop share. I think we're almost done here. One more trachea slide. Oh, it's virtually identical to the other lower power one I showed you. So to draw the tracheal glands, you'll have to go into the study guide to draw those. But there you have it. Those are the respiratory. Where is the epiglottis again? So Kaylin, you want to see one which has the epiglottis. You want to pick the one that's labeled anterior larynx. Let me share that again. And this one, you have the picture with labels in it in the study guide as well to help you. So this is the epiglottis. See how the epiglottis, the cartilage really goes all the way to the tip. That other thing that was sticking up had like a patch of cartilage down about this level. And it was a lot harder to see that cartilage. It was lighter and stained. This is elastic cartilage. The other one's hyaline. I don't know if that's why it's stained differently or just the way the particular section was stained. But just you can see, this is a curved piece of cartilage. The glottis is over here. This is way too narrow to be glottis. And if you see it ripping like that with no epithelia on the edge, that's artifact. That's a cut edge. This is not glottis. So hopefully that answered that part of the question. Let me go back to chat being on. Okay. I'd like to go over, all right, we did all that. All right, so that was the request from one person to go through the slides. Other requests? I don't see any in the chat. So I don't know if you're here, Sophia, but if you are and weren't at the earlier review, I just didn't take the role there. Maybe let me know if you have questions. Everybody else, I think, Stephanie, I know, yeah, you were at the earlier review, I'm pretty sure. So I didn't take role in lab this time because I was so busy talking. So, okay. All right, so if there aren't requests, I'll let you work. You could always shout out for me. Does anyone want to be in a breakout room? You guys usually like to go breakout room. If you really feel like, okay, I think I've got all these lecture questions written, and you could either reorganize that information, turn it into a bunch of concept maps, just it kind of helps you refresh. Or if you'd like, especially with somebody else, you could work with them. You each write questions. All I do is take the lecture question and write a question and see how, if you work with another person, you can switch them, and then answer each other's questions, have discussions about what are wrong answers, what are right answers. Because it's really, that's all I'm doing is taking those lecture questions and trying to think of some question to ask. So,
Right. Okay.
Any other requests? Okay. All right.